Yay, we're on air. Hopefully someone can see this. What time is it?
Can you see if anybody can see you live?
I'm live. Let's see. I don't know. There's a group chat. Okay. I don't know if they can ask questions or not, but let's see. Here, I will sit here and try to control this. This will work. Okay, if anyone is online, we're going to get started soon. Did everybody get some pizza? Except for then we have pizza for if anyone's watching. I know, sure. I said we're going to live stream, so I've never done this. So find out what it is. There's also water. Can you guys got? Can you tell me what I'm? Yeah, there's pizza, vegan, cheese and mushrooms. We're gonna try this up on like roulette type thing. I'm an adult. So do you want to start? Okay, so welcome everybody. Glad a lot of you came. Is everyone here interested in doing their thesis for this coming year, next year? Okay. Okay, so far what we know, I'll go through a couple of rules of how, for the thesis, and then I'm just going to speak more about what thesis is all about. This is an option in our program, which means you get your diploma, and you can write a thesis if you want to. So you could actually take a year off and then come back and do the thesis, just letting you know. But as Udi will speak to, chances are if you leave, you probably won't do it. Yeah. When I talked about the thesis to previous students who may or may not be watching, I got a lot of interest. So far, nobody has confirmed. So once people are doing other things, it's really hard to get back into it. As I know, as I started my PhD thesis, and never got to it. Okay, so what are the rules? What do you need for the thesis? You have to have an over 86 average in the first semester. You need to find an advisor. An advisor has to be someone who, either Udi or Uria or another professor who works for Tel Aviv University and has a position in the university. Most of your lecturers actually do not have positions in universities; they're adjunct professors.
I make
Of course.
Note though that if you do get, you can have two advisors if you want to. So then you can have an advisor, faculty member, of the university, and then if you have, someone that's an expert in the specific topic that you want to do your thesis on, you can do research and find another person who can also work with you. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But you have to at least have one person who is faculty at the.
Okay, and when we say advisor, it means someone who is acting as your advisor and gets paid to be an advisor. And that's important because if you, for example, are interested in environmental conflicts, so we had someone from last year, and Udi is not an expert on environment, she would need someone else who is an expert, assuming, so we would need to pay them as well. If you just, you're doing your thesis on something to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and there's lots of people here, and you send it out to 5 different people, just read over this chapter, that's not an advisor. You're just asking somebody to give you some feedback. We don't pay them. Okay, and I'm explaining this on purpose so you don't, what I'm afraid of is that we'll get somewhere in the middle, where you're asking someone to do a lot of work for you, and it becomes a little bit uncomfortable. So you have to sort of, you have to decide this before, who you're going to need. And all through, of course, as you're writing your thesis, it changes, and you're going to need different people. So it's kind of hard to know, but this is what we kind of need to know before. Yeah.
I'm just questioning why it's just the first semester and why it's 86% now.
Because you're supposed to technically start around now, and we only are now getting your.
We don't even have all of our grades from the first semester.
Yes, you will very soon. You will, but even your grades from the second semester, you're not going to get those until September.
So we technically don't know if it's a possibility yet.
That's right.
You can negotiate.
But what about the people the alumni? How are you weighing up their grades?
That is, we have to give their final, no, actually, I gave their fall grades,
Also,
the
those are,
3 that applied so far.
those are the only ones that are completely comparable across the board, because this is the course
Yeah,
that
exactly,
everybody took.
exactly. So I had to go by what they request from the academic committee. Okay, so that's advisors, and Udi will likely speak more about what is the role of an advisor, but I'm here for the administrative stuff, so just to explain that it gets complicated. So keep checking with us what you plan to do. Then I'll need to know what you plan to work on. So I'll need a paragraph, a couple of lines saying, my research will look at blah, 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 whatever. A couple of lines on that. No, I'll send it out. We also have another form that you can sign.
You can get the template from the other programs.
Yeah, we have it. No, that I have. Everything I have, I'm just explaining what it is, because then I have to send that to the academic committee. And of course, your research will probably change. It'll probably deliver a last minute change. That always happens. It happens with everyone. But they need to see that you're working on something which is unique and applies to the program. And I send that along with the name of your advisor. I need to send that each year by the end of July. So that is basically your deadline to get all this information to me and to have negotiated before, more or less. I mean, things can change, of course. You don't like your advisor halfway through the year. It happens. We can work on it, but basically for me to sign you up for the next year, I need that information by the end of July.
So the yearly intake.
Yes, we tried for into the semester. They didn't allow it.
Well, I think the deadline is March, the beginning of the spring semester. But let me check on that. But
I spoke to Oshat, the third floor. She said end of July for November.
So this court will have to submit by
July 30th. July 30th.
Wait, 17th.
No, this coming year, 2016.
Not like in a couple of.
In a couple of months. No, I'm talking about the deadline to apply for a thesis.
Okay.
We're not talking about those deadlines. So once we have that, and then I get approval, chances are you'll be approved. Then you deal with your advisor, and you come up with your own timeline. That sort of timeline. Now the timelines we have for most of the thesis is fall and spring semester. The end of the spring semester, so June next year, 2017, is when you're supposed to hand in your thesis. If you need to extend that,
So you should stop March. And the program, if you want to extend from March to June,
Yeah.
you have to let them in
you
more.
need to add-
Oh, you will know this better. I haven't done
Well,
one.
the way it works with regards to technically, you have an option to extend it to a second semester.
Third. We're doing it. Nobody's going to finish by February.
No. They have an option to extend it into the spring semester, the second semester, spring.
No. So we're going by what Mamas is doing, and they have the fall and spring semester. You write it 2 semesters.
Huh.
If you want to extend it into the summer for another 2 months, you pay an extra $500.
Okay.
But you have to. That you're saying it's March. You need to let us know why. That's what you're.
So maybe
I'll have to check that part.
If you're doing Mammoth, that's different than migration and probably different than security diplomacy. Middle Eastern studies.
I was told to replicate that.
I've never done this one. So that's so you will work by the humanities, not by the social sciences.
That's what FP wanted me to do. So I'll send all this out. Don't worry, you don't remember the actual dates, but that's basically how it works. So the cost is $5,000 for the year, which means we pay the advisor. You have health coverage. You have the use of the university facilities. Yep.
I'm just wondering why it's a different cost from the 6 program.
Why theirs is 5,000?
No, it's 3,500.
No, 5,000.
3,500.
They're all the same. 5,000.
So this is just circulating around and it means nothing?
I haven't heard. Their website says 5,000.
They negotiated.
Maybe, yeah.
Who negotiated?
that.
Students were told, like, that's what students are telling us, that they went and explained.
Maybe you receive funding or.
I don't know. I can ask what's going on. All the programs are 5,000. We will hopefully, and I can't promise anything, offer small scholarships of about 1,000 for some. But I can't know until the end of, by like July, even after you apply. So you take a risk, you might not get a scholarship. You have to, so you apply by July. Let's say by October, beginning of October, you have to actually confirm. By then we'll know about, yes. We're not gonna make you pay something and then say sorry. Anything else?
But even like 4,000 is for me personally, it's a big deal. Like, this is the only reason I'm here today. I have my topic, I have hopefully my advisor. I just need, like, I don't see myself being able to.
So you should be proactive, okay? You have interesting topics. There's lots of foundations out there who are just interested in giving out money to topics that are related to their work, okay? This is what you need for $1,000. Okay? That's not such a huge amount of money. For you it is, I'm not today. But I'm saying for the foundations who are looking for research being done on their topics, and topics, and there's so many different entities out there, organizations and foundations that are interested in different types of topics. So you should try to be pregnant. There's no guarantee that you'll get anything. But you will get a chance.
Yeah, we're not making money off of this. This is to pay the advisors, to pay the university the taxes that we have to pay them for the facilities, health insurance, all those sort of things.
You can also, you're still a student at the university, so you can audit classes and take classes.
Yeah.
If you're in Israel, you still have the option of doing that. You see, for example, like Nora, if Alexa were working for the program also, she can come, she can audit, so it doesn't have to be in the conflict. If you speak Hebrew, you can ask to audit classes in Hebrew, so you're still a student of the university.
And most importantly for research, you have access to the library.
And online databases. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just mention one thing, just so I don't forget. The only other thing you need to do is take a workshop on writing a thesis, which is we will offer based on whoever is enrolled at a time that's convenient. You don't actually have to be here for that. We could do through Skype, those sort of things. Because it's research based, most of it can be done through Skype. So just sorry, yes.
Oh, if you have two advisors, to clarify, you don't have to pay extra, right? You split.
No. It's the work each. They're not going to do. I can't imagine advisors doing going over and beyond what they should be doing. I mean, you're paying them for their time. So you have to decide, and that's something you have to discuss with whoever your advisor is, whether you need a second advisor, or they could be your sole primary advisor or your only advisor. Anything else? Okay, would you like that?
Sure. So guys, I think you can anticipate what I'm going to say, but I think you're writing a thesis, okay, and doing actual research as a part of your master's is the best thing that you can get out of this problem. Okay, there's lots of good things about the problem, but I think this is the best thing, okay, because doing research, and I know that most of you are not planning on an academic career, maybe a few of you are, most of you don't, okay, but research today, the skill of doing research, the skill of being able to, look at a big body of literature, and first of all, process it and analyze it, and then finding the gaps or the problems, ones that are important, the ones that are timely, okay, and then think about how you deal with that. That's true for whatever profession you're going to pursue, okay. If you think about the high levels of the profession, right? There's the cutting edge. You want to look at the cutting edge, understand the cutting edge, and then think, well, where can I push things further? Okay, so that's a skill that's very important in any organization, okay, non-profit or public or whatever, okay. There would be a research department. So if you want to expand the number of jobs that you can apply for, then if you have research background, you can apply for work at the research department, or alternatively, you'll be the person communicating with the research department for whatever department you're going to work with, because you understand research, okay? And there's no way. It's like Buddhism, okay? I can tell you the principles of Buddhism in less than 5 minutes. Okay? All right? Does this mean that you understand Buddhism? Probably not. Okay. The only way to do that is to take one 10-day workshop and another 10-day workshop, and then a retreat for 2 weeks, whatever. Okay. And after you practice it a lot, then you might have some basic understanding of what Buddhism really is. Okay? It's the same thing with research. Okay, unless you get your feet wet, unless you get some practical, some actual practice, okay, you don't really understand what research means. So unless you become real, I talked to you about it in the past in the fall about the distinction between producers and consumers of research. Okay, so being again, even if you won't be producers of research on a regular basis, even if you be just a liaison with the research department in your organization, okay, you will be intelligent consumers of research. You'll be able to critically think about the results that people are showing you, the spreadsheets, the figures, the analysis, whatever, okay, and say whether they're useful for you, whether you believe them, whether they're credible, okay, whether maybe things should have been studied in a different way, a different angle should have been taken to examine whatever the topic that you're working on is. So and even and it's not just the fact that you'll be able to work with the research department. This kind of critical thinking, this kind of the ability to think about theories, think about explanations, causal explanations for whatever conflict you're going to deal with, okay, and then thinking about how to translate those theoretical questions into ways to empirically test them, anything from interviews to punching numbers, okay. These are skills that are invaluable in the job market, okay. There's nothing, and this is I think a guarantee that I can give you. There's not a single topic, okay, maybe offer, okay, but even then probably, that you're not going to look at spreadsheets, okay? Or if you're not going to look at spreadsheets, then you're just missing on a big chunk of what's happening, okay? Because there's numbers everywhere today, and the ability to analyze these data and think about them and creatively think about ways to move forward with questions and problems and debates that are in your field are not uniquely academic. Okay, it's true, that the research that you're going to do here is going to be academic research. Okay, but this kind of this patterns of questioning, this patterns of thinking, these analytical frameworks are things that you'll be able to take with you wherever you go. And it's so he said, what, you have a whole year? Okay, usually it's like 6 or 7 months, but so you have a whole year for that. That's not that long of a period, I don't think. Okay, for you to really acquire an invaluable skill. So I strongly recommend that. I've been advising many, I lost count of international students, okay? Not from your program, because this is the first year, but from your sister programs. And I think it's been a great experience for people. And you don't, I think some people think about thesis as something that's going to take 100% of their time. It's going to take a lot of your time, okay? But most of you don't have kids right now, you don't have family, so you can have a day job, you can have a night job, okay? You have a day job, you make money, you have the thesis, your night job and weekend job, okay? And I know nobody likes to work on the weekend, but in your 20s, that's what you do, right? I work on the weekend sometimes, and I'm miserable, okay? So I'm just saying that the benefit you'll get out of such a year, I think, are huge. So any questions that you will want to have with your research or advisors, whatever.
Do we defend thesis afterwards, or?
Okay, the standard in the international programs where I advised so far is that there's no oral defense. What you do have is you have a second reader. So once you're done working on the thesis with your advisor, and there's a draft that you agree is a final draft more or less, then this draft is evaluated by your advisor, who gives you a grade, and by a second reader. Okay, so the idea is that there's oversight there. So the second reader would be I'm not sure if this person has to be a full-time faculty at Tel Aviv University, but they need to be experts on the topic that you studied. And if you think about if you want to take it to the next level, then obviously their comments will be useful if you want to pursue a PhD maybe, or if you're thinking of publishing your thesis, okay, which is a great publication. Is knowing how to do research is great, but publishing, the fact that you have this skill is even better, because then you can just refer people to where your article was published, okay? And if it's a good scholarly journal, then.
Do most of the programs automatically publish, or?
No, theses are not, it's published in the sense, there's all sorts of repositories, online repositories, but this is not the publication that I'm talking about. I'm talking about turning your thesis into an article or maybe a book, depending on how long it is, and then, making some real scholarly contribution. But, that's a high call. There's no expectation for this to happen. I'm just saying the second reader can give you comments that can help you with this process.
As our, if we were to use our advisor general, what does that mean? Like weekly
Okay.
meetings or?
No, I think every advice, in academia, there's the academic freedom, so everybody does things their own way. So I can't give you any general. I can tell you that in general, you are graduate students, you get the training in the classes that you do throughout the year, and you're supposed to have skills and that research. Okay, so the expectation is that it's going to be predominantly your work, and I think that there's a philosophy that's this should be a topic that you are passionate about, that you love, and that you want to spend time on. Okay, it's not like another class that you take and maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Okay, this should be, and this guys is something that's very important. Okay, everything that I said is great if it's a topic that you like. If it's a topic that you don't like, don't spend a year working on it. Okay?
I changed topic, and in the middle of it, I took 1 year for me to, and don't do that mistake. Tons of money you get it in US. I did it, and it was really my vital topic, and I'm not gonna do the same mistake here. So decide, make sure, then because in the middle of it, you're gonna get lost every topic. Don't freak out. But once you are lost, if you hate the topic, if you want to change, everything just you waste, and then you drive your advisor crazy too, and then a lot of things change, and they start becoming kind of annoying for you too. I know it's like not everything is very nice.
So I can say that if you want to work with your advisor and you want it to be successful, I think that it's good if you have if there's a general framework within which you work. So for instance, with my advisees, there's a clear timeline. Okay, working backwards from the submission date. So the submission date is June. Okay. So when does the first draft of this thesis have to be ready, and when do you have the discussion conclusion ready, and then the analysis, the data methods, and the lead review and your theory, etc. So it works backwards from June 2017 all the way to, let's say, August 2016 when you start working on your thesis. Okay, what you need to do each month. It doesn't mean that you will meet each month. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Okay, it really depends on the specific project, on the at the different stage. Okay, so when you do the analysis, you might want to meet with your advisor more often. But when you collect data, there might be 2 or 3 months where you just collect data. You interview people, or you go to archives and read the documents. Okay, so there's no reason to meet with your advisor. There's nothing you can discuss. But I think in general, if there's a framework, if the timeline is clear and is transparent and is agreed upon between you and your advisor, it's going to facilitate the process, and it's going to give you, because it's a year, and it's unlike the first year in the master's program where you have classes and you have the midterm and the final and this paper and everything is very structured. You can get lost in it. You can just lose yourself, right? So having this kind of clear timeline, I think, is very useful. Might be also useful for your advisor. They might be busy with other stuff as well, so they know that they're going to get this chapter from you December, and then you have to get back to you by early January. Okay. Yeah.
Just to ask the pragmatic question, so what are the length and quality requirements?
Length is there's a range. Okay, so you might have a thesis of 60 pages or so, and you might have a thesis of 150 pages. It really depends on the topic that you choose, on the method, on the scope of the literature that you need to cover. Certain topics have a lot of literature content, other topics are relatively limited literature.
There's a subjective basis that you have to.
Not that I know. I don't think there's any guideline that says that thesis has to be a minimum of 60. But my experience is that 60 is probably the shortest document you produce, and you probably won't go way much beyond 150. So it's somewhere in between. It's quite a range, And what was the other?
Just are there any other quality requirements in terms of research? Is there ever a point at which a thesis is rejected for not being up to standard, or where is this line?
I haven't had an experience like that. I can say that the worst case that I encountered so far, who wrote a thesis. So you're in the social sciences, okay? Like you're not the MA in Middle East studies, but where I advise are in the social sciences. And there was a student who was a really good student. He's working on his PhD now, but he insisted on writing a thesis that was largely a humanities thesis. Okay, and whatever guidance he got, he still stuck to the same type of research, which is fine, which is legitimate, but it was reflected in the grade. Okay, He's working on his PhD now, and in fact, he didn't get such a good. It wasn't rejected. It was not a good grade. Okay, because by social scientific standards, it wasn't high quality. But so this is the only case where I think something like that might happen. But if this is a challenging program. So if you even had a GPA of 86 and you passed whatever a committee or whatever that needs to make a decision whether you're a good master student material, then you can work on thesis successfully. No reason why not.
I was wondering, I'm thinking of relocating to the States someday.
Mhm.
And depending on how the singing goes or doesn't go, this is always a very luck-oriented thing. So I was thinking of staying in academics parallel to what I'm doing in the US. Now, if I wanted to go for my PhD and say New York, how would this help me? Would it at all? Would I have to write another thesis there? Or could I kind of include that into my track there and then write shorten my time? Like, how does this?
Okay. So in the American, again, in the social sciences in the United States, okay, where it is going to help you, maybe even have a decisive influence is in the application process, okay? In the application process, you'll have a writing sample, which shows that you can do research, impressive writing sample, so that's going to be, this is where it's going to be useful. It is not going to, it's hardly going to have any effect on the way you proceed, the progress that you make on your PhD and how fast you make this progress, because the way PhD programs in the United States are structured is that you take classes for 2. So you come with an idea of what you're going to write your dissertation about, but it's anybody's guess whether it's actually going to be your topic for your dissertation, because it takes at least 2, sometimes 3 years, sometimes even 4 years, until you actually get to the thesis, to the dissertation stage, because you take classes and then you take the qualifying exams. So classes are 2 or 3 years, qualifying exams maybe another 6 months or a year. So it's about 3 or 4 years after you start your program that you actually get to your dissertation, to working on your dissertation. Okay, so it's not going to make things happen any faster once you're in the program. It's going to help you get into programs, probably better programs, or higher level programs.
If I decided, because I come from humanitarian history, which is like kind of, I'm not, I think in Colombia, for example, I think it'd be also social sciences, but I'm not sure if sometimes it's part of humanities, but I wanted to go make my PhD there. Would that be possible with a master's thesis in social science? Because in Germany, it's very strict, like from the get-go. You don't have this liberal arts system.
Yes, it's not a problem. Okay. You have I think people who pursue their PhD in the United States have, a very diverse background in terms of their undergrad.
Is there any issue there with intellectual property rights? Or the thesis written here at GAU wish to expand on it, perhaps at university doing a PhD? Would there be any issue then?
Actually, to the contrary, I would think, you develop a research agenda and then you want to develop it some more as a part of your PhD. That's it wouldn't be intellectual. You're thinking in legal terms, okay? So I don't think there's any legal terms here, okay? But or there might be legal aspects, but I think it's mostly, if you are going to work on a thesis here with an advisor, and you're working, and this is a part of his or her research agenda, okay? And then you publish something based on that, or you want to publish something based on that. They think of it as part of their research agenda, and then you take it somewhere else and start working. But in academia, collaboration is very. I mean, if you have a good professional relationship with your advisor, there's no reason why you won't keep working together, even if you're working on a PhD back in Australia or in the United States or whatever. Because I have most of my co-authors don't live in the same continent, most of them. Okay, so some of them are in China, some of them are in the United States. So that's in many ways I think of that as an advantage actually. So,
I have a suggestion for non-Americans. If you hire an editor to make the language better, I hired and write the thesis, then hire somebody for us. I know you will need it, because once you're gonna send your thesis to some other application, they're gonna look at it the way how you use English.
But thank you for saying.
Yes, that's why I hired somebody. Even for the drafts, I used the editor, and I spent 102 pages of thesis $3,000 I paid for. It was huge. Don't do that mistake.
Guys, but
either.
guys, but
Don't do that. It's not gonna take. It's not gonna take that well.
Guys.
These kind of costs can be a part, so if you're thinking about applying for a grant somewhere, these kind of costs can be written into the grant, okay? You can say that, you might need a statistician to do the analysis, you might say that you need something, assistance with language editing or anything like that. So this can actually be a part of your grant, or if you're not, in some cases you might need research assistance, okay? If your thesis is going to include a big coding, have a big major coding component, okay? If you wanna do that, then it might make sense not to do it yourselves, but to hire research assistants, okay, to do that for you. If you document, let's say, media coverage of a certain type of conflict, okay, you want to code media coverage in various languages in various countries of conflicts at the same time, okay, then creating a research team may be a good idea, and then you can do that as a grant. It's not that easy to get a grant as a master's student. It's easier as a PhD student, okay? But since the kind of topics that you usually study are very sexy, okay? Where you study conflicts, you might have a chance at that, and there's might be some supported courses from the university as well. So, between those, you might be able to cover some of the costs.
I just want to piggyback off of Julian's question. During the seminar that they're going to take or before, are they going to get instruction as to how to, the ethical standards of how to conduct interviews, questions how that works? And is that different in terms of countries? In Israel, there's a certain way of conducting interviews versus what's acceptable somewhere else.
Who's going to teach the seminar? Is it me or is it
I don't know yet. Actually,
it depends. I can't
Well,
answer that.
if you were at,
I usually have an, what about research and research methods, I always have a ethical standards, and the ethical standards in Israel are the same as the rest of the Western world.
Okay.
So, because if you don't meet those standards, then you can't publish in those international outlets. So, so you have to, it's not just this functional thing. It's also that we consider ourselves a Western country, and academic institutions here are on par with academic institutions anywhere else in the world. But even just from this functional perspective, you won't be able to publish. Okay. So good luck.
Thank you.
Did any of
Yeah,
you
thank
have
you.
questions about finding advisors outside of the lectures that you had? You can also discuss that.
yeah, a lot of this information is actually on the website. So,
Why go to the website? We've got the real deal right.
including a list of advisors, but think about it. And anyone online, thank you very much. I hope you can hear everything. I'm going to unlive you. I'm hanging out.
Actually, the last one.